you dare.
Teacher, how to...
Death lives in Tales from the Crypt. Lies the vault of horror. A treasure chest of the macabre. Madness. Vampires. Voodoo. Torture. And terror. The Vault of Horror.
Please, go away.
I can't believe it. To know our plans, our strengths, our weaknesses. Why don't they kill us? What do they want?
Phase 4.
Are you ready to press play?
Tonight's theme is Zero Survivors, which is basically the cinematic equivalent of locking your keys in the car and then watching the car roll into the lake. These are 10 1970s horror movies where nobody makes it out alive. And the real nightmare is how it happens. One tiny choice. One, it's probably fine. One wrong turn. And suddenly you are not living in a movie anymore. You are living in a trap. Picture drive-in marquees buzzing over cracked asphalt, rotary phones ringing with no one on the line, and late-night TV where the volume is low but the tension is loud. What I love about this corner of the 70s is the domino doom. Nobody wakes up and says, "Let's ruin everything today." They just keep making the next reasonable move until reason runs out. Wait until you see what lands at number 4. Because it starts like a routine situation and spirals into something that feels strangely inevitable. And stay with me to the end. Because the number 1 pick has a final stretch so chilling and so old school that it feels like the VHS tape itself is daring you to hit rewind.
Face the terrifying dangers of the Forbidden Zone with them. Engulfing you in the shattering experiences that await beneath the planet of the apes.
Well, there's an intelligence working in this place. They know we're here.
Beneath the Planet of the Apes, 1970, this one starts with the simplest, most reasonable goal in the world. Go in. Find the missing man. Bring him back. But the movie is built like a trapdoor staircase. Every step feels logical, and every step drops you lower. The future is already ruined above ground, so the story pushes you into places that feel even more wrong. Where the air is stale, the corridors are tight, and the silence has a strange pressure to it. What makes it fit the Domino Doom theme is how the danger is not just a monster waiting in the dark. It is the way survival choices keep narrowing your options. Do you turn back and risk dying out in the wasteland? Or do you push forward because at least forward has walls? Do you trust what you see? Or do you trust what people tell you? When both feel designed to mislead you? The deeper the mission goes, the more the film starts to feel like a grim puzzle where every correct move still costs you something. It also has that unmistakable early 70s flavor, where the world looks dusty and harsh, and the tone is oddly matter-of-fact about hopelessness. The suspense comes from dread, not speed. You can feel the story tightening like a fist. And by the time it reaches its endgame, the question is no longer who survives. The question is whether anyone was ever meant to, and if that kind of slow, inevitable collapse hits you. The next film takes a different setting, but plays the same cruel game with fate.
Death lives if you dare.
Teacher. How to...
Death lives in Tales from the Crypt.
Tales from the Crypt, 1972, feels like stumbling onto a forbidden comic book rack at a small-town drugstore. Right before the clerk says the store is closing and the fluorescent lights start to buzz. It has that early 70s chill where the colors look a little sickly. The shadows feel thicker than they should, and every frame whispers that something is already too late. What makes it memorable is the way it turns simple human flaws into a slow-motion collapse. The stories play like grim cautionary tales, with crisp, storybook setups that quickly start to sour at the edges. The atmosphere is theatrical, but sharp, like a stage show where the curtain never fully rises. So your imagination keeps painting the ugliest details, and the film's wraparound thread keeps tightening, linking each small choice to the next, until it starts to feel like the only promise is consequence. It's the kind of movie you can picture catching on late-night TV with rabbit ear antennas, the volume turned down so your parents will not hear, while you insist you are fine, and then regret it the moment the room goes quiet. You smile at first because it feels pulpy and fun, and then a beat lands just right, and that smile freezes into a stare. The reason this one sticks is how quickly it teaches you that just this once is never just once. Today, it still works because anthology horror keeps returning. But few collections are this brisk about cause and effect. It also captures a time when scares felt like campfire folklore for adults, traded in tight little stories that end before you can talk yourself out of the dread. If you like that chaptered, closing in feeling, the next stop takes it to a place where every corridor looks like the wrong corridor.
Asylum. The prison of madness where few enter and none return. Asylum, filled with stark raving.
Asylum, 1972, is the kind of movie that makes you nervous about job interviews, because this one starts with a simple career step and ends with your confidence in reality getting quietly shaken. It feels like catching a late-night screening in a downtown movie house, the lobby smelling like buttered popcorn and old carpet, while the neon outside flickers like it is trying to warn you. The setup is instantly sticky. An applicant is brought into an asylum and asked to prove himself by identifying which patient is secretly the doctor in charge. From there, the film unfolds in crisp, bite-sized chapters that each carry their own uneasy mood. Like flipping through a paperback horror collection at the corner store, what makes it memorable is how calm it looks on the surface. Polite conversations, tidy offices, everyday objects, and then one detail turns slightly wrong and the whole situation tilts. It is domino doom in anthology form, because every story is about one small decision that seems reasonable, until it is the very thing that closes the door behind you. The emotional peak hits like a shared memory, watching it too late, half laughing at how formal everything feels, then realizing you have been holding your breath through the quiet parts. It is the kind of film where you glance toward the hallway after a scene ends, not because something jumps out, but because the silence suddenly feels occupied. And when the framing story tightens, you start second-guessing every face on screen. like the movie is daring you to choose wrong. It still matters now because it plays like an early blueprint for twisty figure-out-the-rule horror. The kind that later shows up in modern mind games and escape room storytelling. The pacing is clean. The ideas land without needing excess. And the overall vibe still has that 70s charm where dread is served with a straight face. If you like horror that arrives in neatly packaged chapters, the next movie takes that structure and turns it into a colder, dreamlike trap.
Lies the vault of horror, a treasure chest of the macabre. Madness, vampires, voodoo, torture, and terror. The Vault of Horror.
If Tales from the Crypt felt like a forbidden comic book, The Vault of Horror feels like waking up mid-dream and realizing the room is familiar, but not yours. A group of people end up in the same strange space, trading stories as if that's the only way to understand what's happening. And that's the hook. The movie turns conversation into a countdown. The more they talk, the more the air seems to thicken. Like the building is listening, each segment plays like a neat little domino line. Someone wants an easy win, someone wants payback, someone thinks they can bend the rules just once, and every time. The smart move is the one that quietly sets the trap. What makes this one work is how 1970s it feels in the best way. Sharp lighting, bold moods, and that slightly unreal tone where ordinary places suddenly look staged. Like a set built for bad luck. It's also a great pick for this theme because it doesn't rely on shock. The tension comes from inevitability. You can feel the story steering toward consequence. And the fun is watching how quickly confidence curdles into panic when the characters realize they're not in control of the ending anymore. And by the time the wraparound thread tightens, the film lands that classic anthology punch. The sense that all these separate choices weren't separate at all. They were pieces of the same machinery, clicking into place. Next up, the domino doom leaves the dreamlike shadows behind and walks into a town where help shows up and somehow makes everything worse.
The Crazies. Something that brutalizes. Something that dements. It's unleashed by human error. They started something they can't stop. The Crazies.
At number 5 is The Crazies, 1973. And it's a perfect fit for Domino Doom because it doesn't start with a monster in the closet. It starts with a town that feels ordinary enough to trust. The roads still look familiar, the diners still serve coffee, and people still believe tomorrow will behave like yesterday. Then one odd moment hits, just small enough to ignore, and you can feel the film daring the characters to choose comfort over caution. What makes this one so unsettling is how fast common sense turns into a trap. Do you call for help? Or does that paint a target on your back? Do you stay put like you're supposed to? Or do you run and become suspicious by default? Every decision creates a new problem, and every solution arrives with strings attached. The fear isn't about spectacle, it's about watching trust evaporate in real time, until even a friendly face feels like a question mark. The town becomes a maze made of rules that keep changing. And the worst part is that nobody feels like a villain at first. Everyone thinks they're being responsible. Everyone thinks they're doing the right thing. And that's exactly how the dominoes fall so cleanly. The 1970s vibe hits hard here. 2. There's that gritty, sun-bleached look. those wide-open spaces that somehow feel claustrophobic, and the steady sense that the system you're supposed to rely on can't hear you anymore. The tension builds because the film keeps shrinking the safe options. The closer you get to escape, the more the story reveals that escape is just another choice with consequences. And the detail that really lingers is how quickly a community turns into a set of strangers. Not because people suddenly change, but because fear gives them permission to, and if that kind of spreading paranoia gets under your skin. The next movie takes you to a seaside town where the atmosphere is quieter, dreamier, and somehow even more wrong. Do you want me to continue with number 6?
And they'll take you one by one, and no one will hear you scream.
Warrentoon doesn't look any different than 1,000 other neon stucco towns. But what happened there, what they did to me, what they're doing now.
Messiah of Evil, 1974, drops you into that sun-faded, early 70s coastal vibe, like cruising past a shuttered boardwalk with the car radio on low, wondering why the streets feel a little too empty. It starts with a simple search for someone who should be easy to find, and then it quietly turns every next step into a worse idea than the last. What makes it stick is the mood. The town feels normal at a glance, but the faces don't quite match the smiles, and the small talk lands like a warning you only understand after it's too late. The movie moves like a bad dream you can't wake up from, with scenes that feel oddly detached, then suddenly uncomfortably close. It's domino doom in slow motion, because the main character keeps choosing the most human option. Ask questions, follow clues, trust the wrong calm voice, tell herself it's just one weird night. And the town keeps answering with silence, crowds, and a growing sense that you're not the one steering anymore. The emotional peak hits like a shared memory. Watching this on a fuzzy late-night TV slot, half paying attention, until one scene in a public place makes you sit up, because it turns ordinary space into something that feels unsafe without ever needing to shout. You know that feeling of turning off the lights and immediately regretting it? This movie practically lives in that moment. It still matters now because it plays like a blueprint for modern vibe horror, where atmosphere is the weapon and the story traps you with inevitability instead of speed. If you like films that feel like a nightmare postcard from 1974, the next entry takes that trapped feeling and puts it into a much smaller, meaner space. Trilogy of Terror, 1975, is pure mid-70s living room panic. The kind you'd catch on late-night TV with wood paneling in the background and a TV tray rattling when you jump. It feels like an event movie you were not supposed to watch, because it turns your own house into the scariest location on the screen. What makes it memorable is how sharp and different each segment feels, like 3 bad dreams stitched together by the same pulse of dread. The performances keep you locked in, especially the way fear builds from normal conversation into something tight and breathless, without needing big spectacle. The sound design has that vintage TV movie intensity, where a quiet room can suddenly feel too quiet, and every little creak becomes a warning. And the reason this one sticks is that it understands domino doom on a personal scale. One curious decision, one moment of overconfidence, one small boundary crossed, and the rest of the night becomes damage control. The emotional peak is easy to remember because it feels so familiar. You're sitting too close to the screen, telling yourself it's just a made-for-TV thriller. And then you realize you are gripping the armrest like it can protect you. It's the exact kind of movie that makes you check the floor beside your bed later, even though you know that is ridiculous, and you still do it anyway. It still matters now because it's basically a masterclass in compact, punchy horror that modern anthology films keep chasing. It also proves you do not need gore to create lasting fear, just a clever setup and the patience to tighten the screws. Next up, the paranoia leaves the living room and spreads across a whole city, where the worst choice might be trying to act normal.
Sleep. Sleep. From deep space. Sleep. The seed is planted. Sleep. Sleep. Terror grows.
Matthew! Matthew! Matthew!
Like the others.
Elizabeth, wake up! Get you when you sleep. Sit up!
Invasion of the body snatchers. Now, the classic fear begins to grow.
We're being cornered.
In a modern masterpiece of science fiction.
They're barricading the street.
Invasion of the body snatchers.
Get down!
Starring Donald Sutherland, Brooke Adams, Leonard Nimoy.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. It hits like a cold breeze off the San Francisco Bay, the kind you'd feel walking past a late-night storefront in bell-bottoms, when the city looks normal, but somehow not welcoming. What makes it unforgettable is how everyday life becomes the enemy. The horror is built out of familiar spaces, apartments, offices, street corners, even a casual conversation that suddenly feels staged. The movie keeps tightening the tension by asking one simple question again and again. How do you prove someone is still themselves without sounding insane? The soundtrack and sound design lean into that creeping, alert feeling, like the whole city is listening for you to slip up. The emotional peak feels like that shared memory of watching with friends and realizing nobody is laughing anymore. You start scanning faces in the background. Then you catch yourself doing it, and it gets under your skin because the film makes you feel watched right back. There's a particular kind of panic here that doesn't need gore or jump scares. Just the slow realization that trust is a luxury you no longer have. It still matters now because it's a blueprint for modern paranoia horror. The kind that turns social spaces into pressure cookers. It also hits differently today, when blending in can feel like survival, and isolation can feel like the only safe move. The reason this one sticks is that it never lets you relax into certainty. It makes doubt feel like the real infection. Next, the doom turns colder and more clinical, as nature itself starts answering back.
Plans, strengths, or weaknesses? Why don't they kill us? What do they want?
Phase 4.
At number 9 is Phase 4, 1974. A sun-bleached, brainy nightmare that feels like it drifted in from a late-night PBS science special you watched on a wood-paneled TV. Half asleep on the couch while the station sign-off hums in the background, it starts with a clean, rational problem and then calmly shows how reason can become its own dead end. What makes it memorable is the clinical mood, bright desert light, sterile lab rooms, and the uneasy sense that watching closely is also giving something time to learn you. The film leans on mesmerizing, almost hypnotic imagery and a cool, near-documentary pace, so the fear comes from patterns forming in plain sight. every decision feels responsible in the moment. Run another test. Tighten the perimeter. Improve the plan. And each improvement teaches the opponent how to counter faster. It is domino doom under a microscope, where progress is the very thing that closes the door behind you. The emotional peak hits like that childhood memory of staying up too late for a grown-up thriller, not fully understanding it, but still feeling your stomach sink when the quiet stretches on. You hear the hum of the room, the soft click of a light switch, and suddenly you are listening for tiny sounds that were never scary before. It makes you laugh at yourself afterward, and then check again anyway. It still matters now because modern eco-horror keeps circling the same idea. The most unsettling enemy is the one that does not rage. It simply adapts. Phase Hall also proves how effective 70s filmmaking could be when it stayed restrained, letting dread seep in like heat through glass. And if that controlled, sunlit doom gets under your skin, the next movie trades the desert for stormy skies, where the warnings feel personal.
Deep beneath the city lies a secret, guarded by primeval terrors beyond imagination. An awesome nightmare is coming. Only one man can stop it. Your dreams will never be the same again.
The Last Wave, 1977, feels like stumbling onto a late-night broadcast after the local news, when the picture is a little snowy and the world outside your window is too quiet. It starts with a grounded mystery and a calm, professional man trying to make sense of it. But the air keeps shifting into something heavier, like a storm you can feel before you see. What makes it memorable is how it mixes courtroom reality with dream logic without ever winking at you. Rain becomes a warning. Ordinary city streets start to feel unfamiliar, and the film's slow. Hypnotic pacing turns every clue into a deeper pull. It is domino doom in the most unsettling form, because each rational step forward only opens a larger, stranger pattern. And the more the main character insists on explanations, the more the movie suggests the situation has already chosen its outcome. The emotional peak lands like a shared memory of being up too late, hearing thunder in the distance, and suddenly deciding you do not want to look at the dark window anymore. You get that creeping feeling that something is approaching. Not fast, not loud, just certain. And you realize your own imagination is doing half the work. It still matters now because modern elevated horror keeps chasing this exact vibe. The slow collapse of certainty, the dread of a world that will not translate into neat answers. If you have ever watched a movie and felt like the weather itself was part of the threat, this is one that still hits differently every time you revisit it. And that's the nightmare of zero survivors. Not just that nobody makes it out, but that the road to that ending is paved with choices that make perfect sense in the moment. A rescue mission becomes a countdown. A small town becomes a cage. A shoreline becomes a warning. A lab becomes a lesson in how control is just another story we tell ourselves. If you made it all the way through this list, tell me which one feels the most inevitable to you. The movie where the dominoes fall so cleanly you can't even argue with it. And if you want a part 2, I can do 10 more 70s horror movies where the ending is a locked door. Or we can jump to the 80s and watch this same doom evolve into something sharper, meaner, and louder. Until next time, choose carefully. Because in these films, the smallest choice is usually the one that finishes you.